the entry point values are really minimal. So you could leverage on that aspect. It'll be crazy of you not to actually invest in.
It doesn't matter if it's true. I've got a feeling love will give us what we lack. The world is waiting up. The world is waiting half a step beyond our door.
Welcome to my channel. This is your girl Rucci. If it's your first time actually tuning in, I would warmly want to welcome you, and why not become a part of the family by actually subscribing to the channel and hitting that notification bell, of course, so you get notified whenever we upload. As per today's title, we talking financials, we talking investments, we are talking being owners and owning shares in some of the companies that are actually listed on the Lusaka stock market. We talking leveraging on, of course, your liquid income that you currently have. Yes, you can do that, and it's so affordable that you would think, why haven't I invested all this time? It would be crazy of you not to actually invest in the Lusaka Stock Exchange. Yeah, so I'm going to be showing you how I own shares in First Quantum Minerals. Yes, I am a shareholder of First Quantum Minerals, and you too can actually own shares in First Quantum Minerals, among us others. There's a whole list of companies that are listed on the Lusaka Stock Exchange that you could actually own shares in. And then, of course, we also do have bonds. You can actually decide to invest in the government bonds, of course, or the bonds that are currently available, and actually get, annual interest rates, and on top of that you actually even get coupons, obviously, of which is the T's and C's actually apply. Yeah, so the terms and conditions to these bonds actually do apply. Okay, so we might firstly want to really know what exactly it means to diversify your portfolio. So in the sense, I would say to diversify your portfolio would simply mean you spreading out your risk. As earlier alluded, with any investments, there are risk factors to it. And then also we talk about the other thing, which is very important. And then, oh, sorry, before I actually go to the other part, is on portfolio diversification. I highly recommend for starters, at least if you can just diversify in either 2 to 3 portfolios. What do I mean by that? You could actually decide to invest in stocks, in hard currency, and then also decide to invest in stocks in your local currency. So what are the risk factors you're putting into place here? One is, if you invest in a local currency, obviously the inflation rate is kind of, higher in local currency than it is in hard currency. So there's that risk factor there when you invest in local currency. And then when you're investing in hard currency, be it the British pound, sterling, be it the euro, or be it perhaps even, the American dollar, your inflation risk factor there is a bit lesser than it would be with the local currency, because at most the inflation rate has in Zambia lastly was about 24%. I don't know what's standing at right now. And usually with the hard currency, the inflation rate is usually from 2 to 3% at most. So you're actually having a capital preservation on your investment when you're actually investing in hard currencies. So you kind of have a balanced a sort of risk. You're spreading out your risk. Should anything go wrong with the local currency, you definitely will have gains in the hard currency, in the sense that you'll be benefiting from that aspect. So the third option of investment will be probably you investing in, let's say, you could invest in stocks. The other one, you invest in maybe equities. and perhaps, equities, which would be like, your real estate and whatnot. So yeah, those are it. And then in terms of the other part that we need to talk about is the leveraging aspect. So on leveraging, I would say, at the moment, the entry points of some of the entry point values of some of the, for you to get into these companies and actually buying shares on the companies that are listed on the Lusaka Stock Exchange, the entry point values are really minimal. So you could leverage on that aspect by getting in while the pricing of the stocks on the Lusaka Stock Exchange are minimal. Because to be honest, in the long run, uh, it's going to curve up. The investment curve always curves up. But yes, it's in the long term. So from now to then, the best entry part you could enter is when the stock values, the entry point is actually minimal. For instance, the most I think on the market is about 30 something, 37 something, which is the most priced stock on the Lusaka Stock Exchange, which is quite affordable, to be honest. Like how many times do you spend that much money on, stuff that you probably don't even need, when you could actually be creating wealth for yourself, not only wealth but wealth for your entire generation, by actually investing in the stock market. So yeah, leveraging basically means, knowing how to set it right. I'll give an example of, let's say, property ownership. You could have a house that's probably selling for, like, let's say, 800,000 kwacha. You'd have a house that's selling for 800,000 kwacha, and you'd readily have that amount readily available. But what would I encourage? And you would also have, uh, let's say, a job that's well paying, stable job, and probably some other businesses and whatnot. But that amount of cash is readily available for you to leverage on that house ownership investment. I would actually go the mortgage way, by actually obtaining a mortgage. Once any financial institutions, any bank perhaps, or any financial institution does a mortgage evaluation on you and gets to find out that you actually qualify, maybe for, like, a 60% mortgage. So meaning all you have to put down as down payment deposit is a 40%. So you only have to put 40% of the 800,000 kwacha. So instead of you actually paying a whole whooping, 800,000 kwacha, you'd actually only get to pay what is 40% of 800,000. That's roughly about 320,000 kwacha. So imagine you'd only pay 320,000 kwacha, of which, if there's another property that's going at the same value, I'll actually take two of the same and pay, the total of 640,000, which I'll also remain with what, roughly about 600 and what, 640 from the 800. Then you have yourself almost 100 and what, 160,000 kwacha, and you have two properties, and then you could be paying off your mortgage. You could save actually that 160 to just be paying off your mortgage, while you put the other property actually on lease, and that could pay off both your mortgages, with, of course, that residue of 160 that remained. So that's how you leverage. Leveraging is basically just making your money worth the most, so you get more profits by actually making wise decisions, by making it leverage for you, instead of you paying outright, the 800 car should have only had one house and no other income. But yeah, of course, why not get two houses, let the other one pay off the mortgage, plus the residue remain of the 160,000. That right there is what we call leveraging. Yeah. So now, and then the other part I just wanted to emphasize is all investments are long term. So if you plan to do an investment, any real profit, for you to see reasonable profit, it has to be long term. All your investments have to be long term. I would recommend investing for a period of at least 5 years and above, nothing less than that. Then you're able to see an uphill curve, because with all investments it's always an uphill curve. Yes, you will have a bit of rough patches in between because of the way the markets are performing, you know. But in the long run, it's always an uphill curve. And of course, once you check the markets, you're free to sell off at the point where you see the. So it's always good to study the market, see how the stocks are performing, and if it's properly in equities, how the equities are performing. If you've probably invested in an index related kind of investment, you see how those are performing overrun. And it's always good to get a preview on how it's been performing in the previous at least 5 to 10 years prior to you investing, so you get a good feel of the motion of the actual investment and how exactly it's actually done. So I think that's about it. Now we're just going to go into how you could actually have shares in the companies that are listed on the Lusaka Stock Exchange. And please do let me know your thoughts and shares, and let me know if you're actually going to invest. But yeah, let's jump into that right now.
Okay, so now we log into Luse. You can download this from your Play Store or App Store, depending on what phone you're using, being Android or perhaps an iPhone. So these are some of the stocks that are listed. There we go. There's First Quantum Minerals going at 3.90. It was actually 3.90 per share. And we've got ShopRite, we've got Zambif, we've got Zamefa, Zambian breweries. There's a NACO as well, and you can see the entry levels pricing are very low, very very low. Like for First Quantum Minerals, it was going for 3.70, and there's me actually placing an order and confirm number of units of stock above, which is not seen in this caption, but I actually got 100 units at 3.70, and there you go, my order was confirmed. And yes, my order was successfully placed. So that's how I had shares in First Quantum Minerals with the total value of 375.55 400 units. You can only buy in 100 units, so meaning you have to buy in hundreds. And there we go. That's the volume amount I had. Each unit was costing me 3.70, and that's total. And there you go with a confirmation SMS. Yeah, that's how you actually become it.
The world is waiting half a step beyond our door.